Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Nix for Frontstretch.com. I am joined here by Mr. Trenton Worsham after a
Hello.
very fascinating duo of races at the reconfigured Atlanta Motor Speedway. So, earlier today, we had the NASCAR Crash and Truck Series race, which was won by Kyle Busch, and he led a lot of the race, but that does not tell the full story. So, the Truck Series race, in my opinion, was very clean. I think the drivers put on a great show throughout the day. There was only one, I'm sorry, there were only two cautions for cause in that race, and only one of those two incidents was a racing incident. So the first big wreck that happened, it was at the start of stage three. Raja Carruth had sort of a snap spin in front of the entire field, collected multiple trucks in the process, including William Sawalich, Andres Perez, among others. It took a little while to figure out how did he spin. At first, people assumed he had a cut tire. Then Karut said in his post-crash interview that he lost it on his own. It turns out there was oil on the racetrack that Karut hit,
Mhm.
caused him to go into a snap spin. So it ended up just being not anybody's fault. It was not Karut's fault, obviously, that he spun because of the oil. And then in the closing laps of the race, Connor Mosack and Frankie Muniz made contact off of turn two. The contact ended what was unfortunately a pretty promising day. Frankie Muniz, and he came home in 26th. However, the most thrilling moment of the race was the final lap, and in addition, the final run. Drivers are going two and three wide. They were able to make individual passes throughout the field, and you could see within the last 10 laps, as drivers like Chandler Smith, for example, would pass Kyle Busch for the lead, they would clear him, and then one lap later, Kyle Busch would just drive right by him again going into turn one. And this trend continued all the way until the final lap when Busch and Stewart Friesen were side by side. They banged doors coming to the checkered flag as well. Sorry, no, they did not bang doors, but they did side draft. And very reminiscent of the photo finish 1 year ago, Kyle Busch took the win by 17 one thousandths of a second over Stewart Friesen. Significant for Kyle Busch for multiple reasons. It is the 67th win of his Truck Series career, and it is also his first NASCAR win of any kind since a truck race at Texas last year. So it was nearly a full calendar year since Busch went back to victory lane. So the truck race again, truckers put on a very good show today. Excellent clean racing. First two weekends of the season, the trucks have done a really good job of keeping their equipment clean and putting on a good show. Moving on to the Xfinity Series. The Xfinity Series was the Austin Hill show from start to finish. And this race played out a fair bit differently than the truck race did. So obviously, first two stages are pretty similar. No There was just one caution for cause at the beginning. So Dean Thompson, excuse me, Ryan Seed got turned around, and Dean Thompson stopped in the racetrack and drew out the yellow flag. Then stage one was won by Austin Hill. Two was also won by Austin Hill. And that brings us to stage three and the ending. So Trenton, I pass it to you now. What did you think of the ending and the last run and just everything we saw in that final stage?
Well, just collectively with Xfinity and trucks, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Close finishes, with the Kyle Busch finish and Friesen. But that last finish, a lot of for Xfinity, a lot of people were wondering why didn't Justin Allgaier go up? He had the run. I thought he jumped the restart honestly at first because he sort of got ahead of Austin Hill before they went to the start and finish line. And so I was like, oh no, I was like, he's gonna get called for jumping the restart. But I think he just had that good of a start versus Austin Hill. But he had the moment to get up there, but he said, I don't think he trusted his car to get up there and do it just because of the pushes and everything. And yeah, so Austin Hill, another super speedway style or drafting style track one. I think he's what eighth on the list now with like Dale Earnhardt or
Mhm.
something I saw. So that there's just something about him with that, you have guys like SVG for the road courses. I'm sure Connor Zilic next year, next week at Coda's gonna be great. But Austin Hill at RCR, man, he just has these drafting tracks figured out.
He had the field covered from top. the bottom. It was a rather typical act of domination, I would say, for Austin Hill. A couple other important things to note. So lots of great runs from the underdogs in the Xfinity race tonight. Leland Honeyman came home eighth for Cope Family Racing. He was thrilled about the result after the race as well. Both Burtons, Harrison, and Jeb also had really strong runs. The AM racing car now has more top tens this year. Excuse me, it has the same number of top tens this year that it had the entirety of last season. Two. So Burton is off to a really good start for AM racing. And then, of course, obviously, Jeb is always someone who's really good on the super speedways, and he brought the car home once more with another top 10 result.
I
We
think
saw a
I
lot
saw
of,
he's like the all-time leader now in super speedway finishes without a DNF.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that's a pretty interesting stat for Jeb Burton right there.
mhm. He is really good at keeping the car clean. As, some, as these races have so typically devolved into wreck fests, it's just, it's cool to see Burton always be at the end. And if you're at the end, you have a chance to win one or two. Obviously, he won Talladega a couple of years ago, got multiple wins in Talladega, in fact. So Burton is Jeb Burton has done a really great job of keeping his car clean in these
Absolutely.
races. And the final major note would be the aging track surface. So it was most prevalent in the truck race today, where drivers were able to make passes, make moves, handling really mattered a lot. What did you think of it all, Trent? Of the aging surface?
Well, they knew when they put it down it was going to age quicker than most because it's Atlanta's called Hot Atlanta. It's hot, sun's out there, that pavement's going to cook. And Atlanta on this configuration, on the old one, you want to go back and watch late 90s, 2000s, mid 2000s NASCAR races at Atlanta. There's always that photos finish. Harvick and Gordon stands out, obviously as one of the premier ones of that. And even last year on the new surface. But something Kyle Busch did say, he was asked about in his media availability after the race was, does this remind you of the 90s, 2000s super speedway racing? Not Atlanta, but super speedway racing. He said it did. He said someone asked him that in Victory Lane. And so Kyle Busch, feels like at least with the trucks at the Atlanta surface right now and how it's racing as a drafting track, has that old school vibe to it from, Daytona, Talladega in the 90s and 2000s when he was kind of getting going there.
Yeah, it's might be crazy to say, but it's honestly fair in my opinion, Matt. Atlanta is more like Daytona and Talladega than Daytona and Talladega at this point. It
For the old,
races
yeah, for the old school fans, the old school, the
for the old
truthers.
school fan. Yet the type of racing that is seen at Daytona and Talladega now is a lot different from what is seen in Atlanta, and it's almost like a window into the past. And based on that, obviously, Kyle Busch, we will end it on this note. The race 1 year ago, obviously, already one of the most famous finishes of all time, and one of the more famous races of all time as well. As a result, do you think we're going to see something similar tomorrow?
I think we could have a close finish tomorrow. We've had it, past Atlanta races. I mean, people did not want this configuration to happen, and it happened. And we've had some of the best racing on the schedule at Atlanta over the recent, couple of years. We've had this. So I don't know if it's going to be the closest finish in history. I don't know if it's going to be neck and neck, but we could have like a last, you know, pass coming out of turn four. I think we're going to have some exciting finishes tomorrow for the stages and ultimately for the race.
And that's why, as Dale Jr., I know Dale Jr. said it last year, and others said it well, Atlanta has become one of the hottest tickets in the sport right now. So I'm optimistic it's going to put on a good show, and I'm excited to see how it all turns out. So,
Last food for thought here. People talk about the rotating championship schedule. Nobody wants a super speedway, but would Atlanta be a championship super speedway option with the racing it produces? I mean, that's just something we can debate at another time, but just throwing that out there as well.
mhm. And I would also throw out the All-Star race as an addendum to that. Possible.
Nah, it needs to be points. It needs to be points.
I mean, with the way Atlanta's racing right now, it's one of the best tracks in the schedule. So it's got good reason for it. Honestly, it's got good reason for it. And that's a conversation that, if it pops up, will be very interesting to have.
Mm.
But yep, Trenton, it was a pleasure for myself, Kevin Nix, alongside Trenton Worsham. We thank you all for joining us here tonight, and we look forward to the Am Better Health 400 tomorrow afternoon.
And shout out to Vivid EV for the sponsors.
Shout out to Vivid for the sponsorship.
The Vivid EV Anthem is the essence of American spirit. Made with lithium battery technology, this neighborhood electric vehicle features vibrant colors, diamond stitch seats, and seats up to 6. It isn't just made in America, it's made for America.
Jared Haas with Frontstretch.com. Come back soon for more great racing videos. And if you like us, make sure to hit that subscribe button.